This is getting frustrating now. We are in a period where women can be represented in a way that opposes traditional norms and stereotypes. A chance to show nuance. A chance to show that women can do anything that men can. And we also live in a time where the industry is hell-bent on diversity, opening a window of opportunity for underrepresented communities, and then making them look like the biggest idiots. I don't know what this show was attempting. Was it trying to make an authentic Tomb Raider narrative that's true to the game but expands on new and exciting character development? Or is it trying to solely promote feminine power and racial minorities as smart and techie people who can do pretty much anything because they're not white? And of course the white guy is a villain. So if they were trying to juggle all of these progressive themes in one, that means all the attention went towards the representation of minorities and zero attention for the animation. I mean, just look at the way these characters move. It's so wooden. Now you're probably wondering, why would someone like me watch this show? I'm not really a big gamer, so I don't know much about the Tomb Raider series. But what I do like very much is this genre. It's adventure, but it falls under the same category as Indiana Jones, a movie franchise that I absolutely adore. I love stories that embark on a hunt for hidden treasure or a forgotten civilization. Seeing fun action sequences in different locations across the world. It also inspires you to take on the world and find your own treasure. I find that whole aspect incredibly thrilling, and I was hoping that was what this new adaptation of Tomb Raider would give me. Not to mention this was a TV show, so it would allow Lara Croft as a character to develop and expand, without her coming off as corny like those terrible live action movies with Angelina Jolie. But I was wrong. Maybe those movies weren't so bad in retrospect compared to this. I mean, it was just so boring. The only thing that kept me interested was the lore and mythology of the Danger Stones. Yes, you heard me correctly, they are in fact called the Danger Stones. And also seeing them go from one country to the next was kind of exciting, but then that thrill instantly disappears when we see how uneventful the mission actually is. So Lara is tracking down some hidden treasure in Chile. She is almost killed to her surprise, but is saved by her late father's friend Roth. This incident sticks with Lara, and becomes even more significant when we see that Roth later died after once again protecting Lara, and all of her friends saying it's not her fault, Roth knew the consequences, when really we all know that it was probably Lara's fault. Anyway, 3 years later, Lara is now a hard-as-nails solo adventurer, and you can tell she's tough because she's fighting a female wrestler. What a mind-bending gender swap role this is. What does this add to the story? Absolutely nothing, but it tells us she's different and more experienced. After a thief breaks into Croft Manor to steal an old Chinese artifact, which was probably stolen in the first place, it becomes Lara's mission to steal back the artifact and save the world from peril. And do you think now she has learnt everything from her past? What not to do and how to handle a situation when things go out of hand? She's more mature, so nothing can go wrong. Except the writers seem to have forgotten that she had been through all of that, so she's exactly the same. More rash and liable than ever. But that's fine, this series is about her arc. It's all about change. She will come out as a different person by the end. Except that never happened. Lara Croft is nothing but a dull and reckless character in the show, and that reflects on all of the characters and the narrative. Zip, for instance, may be the most annoying character in the show. He is a right-hand man and tech guy. Can track down anyone and get you into the most secure places on the planet. Pretty cool, right? Unfortunately, he also has a mouth and says the most zaniest shit. I don't know if in the games he is gay or if they really needed to state that, but here it's quite clear that his sexual orientation swings one way. I mean, how obvious does this guy want to make it? And he's not even funny. And when you're trying to be funny but failing, it's difficult to bear with. You know, there's been a lot of great gay characters in the medium of film and television. This was just an insult to all the progress that had been made in the past. He wasn't driving me crazy to the point where I wanted to turn this whole thing off, but his attempts at humour was just really obnoxious. Jonah, on the other hand, was definitely the most likeable out of the trio. He was supportive, and to be fair, Zip was as well, but in an annoying way. However, that's as far as I'll go with praising Jonah. This guy just goes along with anything Lara does. He'll say no initially but then reluctantly agree. This happens in every episode more or less. He will go for the ends of the world to protect Lara, and you think he must really like her. But then you realise that he's engaged. Told his fiancée that he's helping Lara find a bunch of magic stones. I mean, how his fiancée didn't dump him is a mystery. The thing is, I would have liked some backstory about Zip and Jonah to connect with a bit more. It probably wouldn't have worked though because I didn't care for Lara's backstories. But here's what I really don't get about these two. They add no conflict. Their relationship with Lara isn't real. It's constantly, I will always support you, I'm with you to the end. I mean, why are they like this? She's not worth it. She's not inspiring enough and she can't even pull any of these missions off without help. But when you're good friends with someone, you're bound to have some push and pull. These two idiots don't add much to make their trio group likable. I have no intention of seeing them in the future fight more bad guys and steal. I mean retrieve more artifacts. Lara's character is further stressed to progressive liberal strides when it is revealed that she has some sort of ambiguously romantic relationship with Roth's daughter Camilla. It's not really that deep looking into it, but just because there was no male interest in the show, you know, cause one was gay, one was engaged, and the other was a villain, Camilla seemed like the character who was most likely a romantic interest. I wouldn't have minded if that was the case, but they kept hinting at it, which to me was kind of a waste of time. I mean, how obvious do you want to make it? And the character Charles Devereaux, a mercenary who has a stylish and slick look, was absolutely terrible. Maybe the most one-dimensional character in the show, and that's saying something when you have someone like Zip. His backstory was by far the most interesting, but they only talked about it through exposition. His father was killed by a society called the Light. He became a rebel in school and joined the French Foreign Legion. He could have easily been the best character in the show, and yet he was the opposite. They try to show a contrast between his character and Lara's, claiming they're just the same. But Lara interjects, claiming to be a woman of the people, because she values the lives of the innocent, but she's okay with stealing their artifacts. In essence, Charles was a Saturday morning villain of the week. He was missing in key episodes to challenge Lara. They could have showed a side to him that was sympathetic, but none of these options were given any thought, much like the entirety of the show. In the end, Charles just wanted the stones to take over the world, to have power. Every show now is about the world ending. They don't really need to stretch it that far. I understand you have to make the show feel like it has some stakes to it, but just jumping to an end of the world scenario makes it sound ridiculous. It's been done so many times, and how many of them have actually worked? I mean, I don't understand why today's producers are so obsessed with diversity. When are they going to realize that this is a gradual process and cannot be forced? Because what is the point of a show like Tomb Raider if it's going to be forgotten? You may have a diverse set of characters, but what was the point? The topic of forced representation in media is often debated. Authentic diversity enriches stories when it aligns with the narrative and character development, but audiences sometimes critique efforts as contrived when it feels unearned or detract from storytelling quality. In cases like Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft or similar productions, critics may feel that attempts to diversify casts or themes are performative if they overshadow the core plot. However, it's equally crucial to recognize how representation can broaden perspectives, though its success hinges on seamless integration within compelling narratives. Look at Star Trek. That show is from the 60s. Sure, there are some blatant stereotypes here and there. Scotty is called Scotty because he's Scottish, but they're all from different walks of life. It's not different races based on skin color, it's based on literal races from planets light years away from each other, all coming together in unison. And one of the most nuanced characters is Uhura, one of the first black actors to be cast as a main character in a major American TV show. She has since become a role model and has gone down as one of the most important characters in the sci-fi genre. And keep in mind, this is from the 60s. If they were able to look at a character like Uhura, look beyond her skin color and create an engaging and likable person in that era, well, the level of writing has really dropped off in today's age. I think we can all agree that the animation is not the best here, and it's quite glaring when you look at the stilted movements and lack of fluidity. Character motion can feel mechanical, with transitions and actions appearing unnatural when viewed frame by frame. Additionally, the characters sometimes seem visually disconnected from their environments, such as jungle backdrops making them look out of place. This can break immersion, detracting from the overall experience. It never captures the peril of Lara's missions. The scope and stakes don't feel realized. It's rather dull and doesn't make the adventure exciting at all. Effective animation should harmonize characters and settings, ensuring a dynamic and cohesive aesthetic. Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft struggles to captivate due to its underwhelming action sequences and lack of tension. Many moments that should feel dynamic instead fall flat, with predictable resolutions that rob the audience of any suspense. Lara Croft's trials often seem too easily overcome, undermining the stakes and making her victories feel unearned. Characterization also falters, with some cast members coming across as grating or shallow. Although the show touches on Lara's personal trauma, it has little impact on her development or decisions, leaving emotional arcs feeling incomplete and disconnected. These shortcomings diminish the narrative's weight and hinder audience engagement. Look, overall I wasn't expecting anything great. It's hard adapting a game into a TV show or movie. What I was hoping for at the very least was some fun action adventure full of quirky and likable characters. You know, I wouldn't have minded if Charles as a villain was one-dimensional, so long as he was fun and entertaining, but he was none of those things, which made him all the more boring. And the same can be said about the rest of the characters. Even Zip, who's there for humour, somehow makes it feel dull, and it's the way they talk. It's either cringe, witty banter or blatant exposition. You may as well be following wooden puppets on this adventure, and it would make no difference. That's what makes the experience so forgettable. You didn't feel like you were on a journey with people you could relate to or even root for. That excitement which makes this genre so famous was nowhere to be found in this show.